Here's 5 things you need to know about the United States Postal Service slashing 10,000 jobs. Let's get into it. 1. Postmaster General Louis DeJoy plans to partner with DOJ to cut 10,000 jobs. 2. DOJ is said to be assisting USPS in handling what has been characterized as big problems. Some of the problems cited include the mismanagement of the agency's retirement assets, as well as the workers' compensation plan and regulatory requirements that restrict normal business practices. 3. Critics fear that such a move will result in the undermining and privatizing of our postal system. It has been alleged that Americans who live in rural and hard-to-reach areas will feel the hardest impact of this move. The Americans in the rural areas rely heavily on the Postal Service to deliver their mail, their medications, and their voting ballots. 4. The USPS plans to implement these 10,000 job cuts within the next 30 days through a voluntary retirement program. Right now, it's unclear if these 10,000 workers have been offered a lucrative buyout, and if so, how much. And 5. Inquiring minds want to know what privatizing the post office would mean or what it would look like. It could mean steep rate hikes, reduced service frequency, and it would look more like a FedEx or a UPS. And most interestingly, it would be profit-driven and free from regulatory constraints. Cash would rule everything around it. And as with anything in America, if you want to know the truth, follow the money.
Welcome back to our channel AI Crystal. Let's critically talk about the U.S. Postal Service quietly asking workers to quit due to low volume and funding cuts, a troubling development with deep implications. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel. And we deeply appreciate our returning subscribers. What's happening at the USPS? In recent months, the United States Postal Service has been facing a serious decline in mail volume and ongoing funding issues, prompting internal pushes for early retirements and voluntary resignations. While this may not be officially labeled as layoffs, workers are quietly being encouraged to leave a clear sign of crisis.
If you work at the post office, I give it to you. You're a hard worker. You're a hard, dedicated worker, and you deserve that. I was not built for the post office at all. I lasted 5-6 months. I lasted long enough for you to get into the union, because they said once you're in the union, it's hard for you to get fired. It wasn't hard for me though, because I quit. I straight got my bag and walked out. When I came in, I was a rural carrier, right? So the city carriers that walk, and there's rural carriers that are mostly in the mail truck, and you're driving up the mailboxes and putting the mail in, because the houses are so far apart, right? Got assigned to the post office that didn't really need anybody. So he just kept on sending me to different post offices for hours. And he would send me to the most terrible post offices. The first office they sent me to, they didn't even train me. They trained me for like 2-3 days and then just threw me out there. And I was just like, so when you're a rural carrier, they put you in a like cubicle and you gotta remember all these addresses as you're separating the mail and the packages, right? I could not memorize it. It took me a while. Like I did memorize it, but it took me a while to memorize it, right? And the way that the addresses are lined up is the same way you drive it, because it's a route. So you gotta drive it that same way. I was bringing mail back. I was bringing packages back. Then they actually started training me again, and I got better at it. But then they started putting me on different routes at that post office. And I was like, I barely remembered that one. So now you just put me on this one. I was bringing back mail and packages, and I did not care at all. They was like, you can't do that. And I said, why? First of all, I couldn't remember the route, so I started getting frustrated. Then it started getting dark. You see I wear glasses. I can't see in the dark. And then we in the farmland, so there ain't no street lights. It's just pitch black. Once I see something in the dark, it's time for me to go home. And that's what I did. I brought back everything and I went home. I texted my postmaster and I said, not for me. Send me to another post office, which he did. And it was a good post office. I ain't gonna lie, they taught me. I did good. I was smoking the route, everything. I was good. I was good. It was like, oh, now that you know now, go back to that original post office. I went back there. I just didn't like that post office. It was just hectic, and they just needed people. And I wasn't that guy. I was not that guy. I just had to keep on trying to remember like three little cubicles. I said, nah, that's not me. Send me to another post office. So he did. That post office was terrible too. That was a terrible post office too. With that post office, actually, I learned the routes, but then they had me doing a route and a half. So I'll do a whole route and come back and do half of another route. Terrible. Terrible. And on top of that, I only had 1 day off. It was just some random day during the week I would have 1 day off. Because it wasn't on the weekend. Because Saturday, you ran a route. Sunday was Amazon Day. We delivered packages. And that was one thing too. Because if they had a bunch of packages, they would expect you to come back, like deliver all the packages that could fit in the mail truck. And if you had ones left over, they expect you to come back and load your mail truck up again, and then go back out and deliver them packages. I did not do that. I'm a one and done. I do one route and I go home. I was not about that life at all. I guess you could call me lazy. I don't care. But it was not built for me, right? That same post office, right? They would continually give me a route and a half. Only takes 3 times. And I was on that 3rd time. Came in. I already hated the job after that. I came in and I didn't want to be there. And I was like, I hope this lady don't come up to me and says, oh, you're doing half a route, because I'm quitting today. I already knew in my mind, I'm quitting today. So I went to my cubicle and I was like, hope she don't walk over here. I'm about to start dividing up the mail. She came over, she said, you and so-and-so doing half a route. Plop that mail on you. As soon as she did that, mentally, I said, no, he's about to do 2 routes. 3 routes, possibly, if he can do it fast enough. Because I'm going home. I gave it a few minutes. I'm not even going to lie to you. I gave it a few minutes. I sat in a little cubicle, grabbed some mail, just like trying to make my day better. And then I said, nah, this ain't me. Put that mail down, grabbed my bag, walked out, texted my boss or my postmaster, and I said, I resign. I'm good. And at the time I was in trucking school, had a little savings. Nah, I'm good. I straight walked out on them and just never responded to any of their texts after that. She was like, oh, you gotta come in and do some paperwork. You ain't gotta worry about me. I ain't never coming back. Never. Don't plan to. Like, nah. The post office, that's a different beast.
The United States Postal Service has essentially had itself shut down. Not yet, but it's going to. Let me explain. The outgoing Postmaster General, Louis DeJoy, who has a number of conflicts of interest related to the post office and his private businesses that he has not divested from, just signed an agreement with DOJ. In that agreement, DOJ is to come into the post office, cut 10,000 jobs from the post office, shut down post offices, which, note to everybody, requires an act of Congress to start a post office or shut one down, but shut down post offices, shut down more distribution centers, and get rid of portions of the United States Postal Service benefits packages, including retirement plans. All of this was outlined in a letter that Mr. DeJoy gave to Congress today. And in response to that, Representative Jerry Conley from Virginia, a Democrat, said the only thing worse for the Postal Service than DeJoy's Delivering for America plan, which has turned out to be disastrous, is turning the service over to Elon Musk and DOJ so they can undermine it, privatize it, and profit off America's loss.
Why the volume drop? 1. Digital shift. Americans now rely more on emails, digital billing, and online messaging. First-class mail, a major revenue source, has plummeted. 2. Private competition. Companies like FedEx, UPS, and Amazon have taken over parcel delivery, particularly the more profitable parts of it. 3. Operational cutbacks. Mail delivery frequency has been reduced in some areas, making USPS less competitive and more expensive per delivery. Funding crisis and political neglect. The USPS isn't taxpayer funded for daily operations, it relies on its own revenue. which has been steadily shrinking. On top of that, Congress has delayed major financial reform. The USPS is still burdened by a 2006 law requiring it to pre-fund retiree health benefits, costing billions annually. Efforts to modernize or privatize USPS have stalled or worsened worker morale. Impact on workers. 1. Voluntary quits. Postal workers are being offered early retirement packages, or told that it might be wise to consider leaving. 2. No job security. Many are afraid that the next step is forced layoffs, even though the agency hasn't confirmed it publicly. 3. Union pushback. Postal unions are raising alarms, calling this a form of quiet downsizing with no public accountability. Why it matters to Americans. Rural communities depend on USPS more than urban areas. Medications, ballots, and critical documents go through the mail. A weakened USPS undermines voter access, veteran support, and affordable shipping. Is this the beginning of a slow-motion privatization of USPS? Are these job reductions a sign that the government is abandoning essential public services? Why aren't more political leaders speaking up? Let us know in the comments. Do you still rely on USPS? Is it time for the government to step in and fully fund the Postal Service again? Drop your thoughts below. And as always, like, share, comment, and subscribe to AI Crystal, where we critically break down what's really going on.